Hi, my name is Alejandro Bielsa. I'm a 3D character artist in the games industry, and today I'm going to show you how I make shadow maps for my hair card grooms. So, where did my inspiration to get this working in Unreal? As you can see, this is Unreal Engine 4. Where did this inspiration come from? Um, if you know me, you know I'm a really big fan of Naughty Dog and their art directed approach to fidelity and realism. So it's not realism, strictly speaking. It's very art directed and very um, masterfully crafted, I should say. So I was watching one of their talks from 2016 from Uncharted 4, where they talk about making sure there are shadows between the different clumps and twists and turns of the hair. So this idea is borrowed from Yibing Yang. She was the character shading artist in Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us Part 2, I think. Oh, and go follow her. She's amazing. And honestly, everyone in this presentation, Frank Tseng, Yibing Yang, Colin Thomas, and Adam Scott, they are all incredible artists. And yeah, let's see how they approached it. So they made a light rig. This appears to be a mesh, and from every vertex there's a light that's spawned. It's like an average version of the lighting that could be in every scene. As you can see, the shadows really make the hair have that depth that real hair has. Obviously, these are reference images. This is real hair, but you can see how inside, like on the same mesh, quote unquote, in real life, you have really deep shadows and really, really bright highlights. So you can see they have here the normal hair strands, and they have here a 512 by 512 second UV channel to make the shadow maps. If we pay attention here, you can see the really big difference, both in Nadine and Nathan, the difference between having those shadow maps baked in for the innermost sections, or even between the different clumps when they are pretty close together. It just represents not only the ambient occlusion but an average lighting scenario with really soft lighting across, not only from a single direction or anything like that. And yeah, the main purpose is to give depth and separation and a bit of variation between the different strands. So if I come back here to my Unreal Engine 4 project, we can go to the material itself. And if we turn it on and off, you can see, especially in these areas, here in the front, here in the van, how much together and like it looks less homogeneous, so it looks less boring, but it also plays together better because everything in real life interacts with everything around it. So especially here on the van, as you can see, it really adds that closeness between the different fibers. And yeah, this is I'm currently taking a CGMA hair course, so this is still a work in progress. I'm still like one week and a half or so from being done, so there's still some things that will improve and change. But yeah, I'm comfortable showing the current work in progress and this custom implementation I'm using. Let's jump onto Blender and let's start generating this map. So as you saw in the Naughty Dog presentation, here we have a mesh, and in each vertex of the mesh, there's of the sphere, there's a light. And basically, what we are trying to do is bake into a texture, into an atlas texture like this one. We are trying to bake this viewport shading pass here, the shadow pass. As you can see, it's exactly doing what we were looking for. It's grabbing that shadow and that depth between the different strands, and we're going to be baking that into a atlas-like or light map-like UV channel. So let's get to it. Let's import both our head mesh and our hair mesh. So file import FBX. And let's import this one, which is the hair, as you can see. Oops, I'm in transparent mode, so let's place it there. And let's import the head too. And that's it. Okay, so let's first of all rename our material in our hair mesh and call it mat underscore hair. The head one isn't important, so let's just focus on the hair one. Let's go into the shading tab, and we need to make sure there isn't any diffuse texture on the hair at the moment, so we can just cut this connection to the base color. And we don't need a normal map at the moment, but what we need is, let's just duplicate this one, and what we need is textures, teeth, and the alpha one. There you go. And now make sure you're putting your black and white textures into linear mode. Otherwise, it's gonna look not accurate. And if we select the material now and scroll down, and we go here into settings, let's set the blend mode to alpha hashed and the shadow mode to alpha hashed too. And as you can see, now we have our alpha textures on our hair. So first and foremost, let's make sure we have our UV channel for the shadow map. So let's go back into the layout workspace, select the hair, go here to the mesh options, UV maps. Here we have our diffuse UVs. Let's actually go to the UV editing workspace so we can see it. We can see this directly. Here you can see my alpha map and everything. But yeah, let's create two. You can do this directly on the UV map on the second one. I'm gonna use the third one because I'm using the second one for some other hacky things. So let's just use the UV map channel 3 in this case. And let's call it, oh yeah, just clicking here will add a new one or remove one. So let's just call it shadow map UV. Okay, and if you click here in the camera icon, we can click here this button to sync both views on the 2D side of things and 3D. And we can come here up where it says UV and click average island scale. This makes sure that every single strand and card is the same texel size. So this would be the same as doing it in Maya with get text, select everything, get texel size, and then set texel size to average the size between them. So now we select everything with A. Let's go again to UV and now pack islands. And I think that's it. Now we have our light map like UV channel here that we can use to bake our shadow maps. So you can see here the textures don't show correctly now because we are using for the diffuse the shadow map UV. So remember to click back on the camera icon for the diffuse UV. And now let's build our actual light rig. So let's start adding a mesh with Shift A, and let's add a cube actually, not a sphere. You can do that too here from up here in object mode. Just go to add mesh and cube up here. Let's add a subdivision surface modifier. Let's give it a couple of subdivisions and let's apply it. We can now delete the bottom half of the sphere. At Naughty Dog, for some reason, they like on the tag they leave this bottom edge for some reason. So I'm gonna leave it too. Go into edit mode and select all the vertices in the bottom edge and just scale them on the z-axis so they are flattened. Okay, we can come here to the viewport to the object properties, sorry, and in viewport display we can put that into wireframe, and in display as wire. So that way we don't have the actual mesh giving us trouble, and we can see through it. So now, how does the actual light rig work? It's actually just a light, a point light, and it's just placed with snapping into vertex. So if you press G to move the light around and hold Control, you can snap it through the vertices. So in this case, you do that once, and then you Alt D to duplicate with instance, and then you hold Control again, and you keep repeating that. So because that's really tedious, I'm gonna give you a script I made in Blender. So Blender automatically places all the lights in every vertex of the mesh. That also means that you can have any shape of the mesh you want. For example, maybe you want a bigger one or a taller one or whatever shape you want, even with some noise, and it will actually still work as long as you have vertices on a mesh. Alrighty then. So just left is to generate the lights for the light rig, and then render the shadow map onto a texture and plop that into Unreal Engine. So let's just select the mesh, go into edit mode with the tab key, press A to select everything, and go back to object mode. Let's go into the scripting workspace up here. Click on new, call it, I don't know, LightRig Generator, press enter, and then paste this little code that I'm gonna leave you in the description of the video. If you want to change the light intensity or the radius to make it softer, make it harsher, you can play with those. But yeah, these are the values that have worked for me. And then all we need to do is press play on the script, run the script. And then if we go back to layout and up here in the viewport shading settings, we activate scene lights and scene world. If we go to the shadow pass, you can see we now have here our shadow pass affecting and being affected by the strands themselves. Alrighty, so the only thing left to do is to bake them into a texture, so let's do that now. It's very important to set up this in the correct way, so we're going to make a new workspace here just to do this step. And let's double click here and let's call this bake SM for shadow map. Let's go again onto the viewport shading and let's activate both and the shadow option there, of course. So we don't need this, so we can swap this for an image editor right here. And also we need to have the UV maps of the hair open right here. It's very important. So with that selected, let's go to shading. Yeah, let's delete all this. This is just leftover from my previous. I was wondering why it was textured, but it's just because I copied it from the other file I have. So this is what we should have. Okay, just an alpha texture plugged into the alpha input, as you can see. Yeah, let's create a new image texture. Just duplicate that one and click here to delete it. And create new here. Let's actually make it twice the size the Naughty Dog people used. Since it's for a portfolio piece, it doesn't really matter. So let's call it shadow map bake, for example, and let's make it black. Click OK, and put it to linear. This is really important too. So let's jump back with this selected. Let's jump back into bake SM, and right here we need to select that map we just created, and it should be black. And if we scroll back and come here to image, we should be seeing everything with just set up. So color space linear, source generated, and the size of the image. And yeah, so just select your hair mesh. Make sure the little camera icon is on the diffuse UV, because we need, if we put it on the shadow map one, it's going to look wrong, obviously, because we still need to use the original UVs to read from the alpha texture. So click here on the little camera for the diffuse UVs, but click on the shadow map UV channel. So the third or the second, depends on your case. The third, in my case, UV channel needs to be selected because it's the one it's going to be baked in. And the little camera has to be set up on the first one, on the diffuse UV, in my case, okay? So we can actually have the textures affect the shadow map. And with that done, let's just click here on the little camera. Let's set up the render engine to cycles. The device, you can use GPU if you have a bulky GPU like I do. And yeah, I think that's it. Let's scroll down here to the bake section. Let's change the bake type to shadow, the third one. There we go. And I think that's it. Yep. Let's just click bake and let's just wait it out. As you can see, the texture is being baked here. And because I'm doing it on my GPU and it's only a 1K texture, it's doing it fairly fast. As you can see right now, the shadow map is looking as it should. So yeah, that's it. Let's save it. And now let's save as to save it externally. So let's do TIFF, RGB, and LCW, and yeah, shadow map bake and save as. It's really important after you modify your UV channels. Obviously, you need to save the mesh. Let's actually do something else. Let's show here inside Blender how it could look. So let's just open the color one, and that one uses the diffuse UV, and then we can do a mix RGB that can be multiply. There you go. And yeah, let's put that there, and let's put the color up there, and the other one at the bottom. And now modifying the factor, we can see what the AO shadow map does. Let's do the same with the normal. So let's just open the normal map, non-color, that's right. And then just normal map. There you go. Tangent space, color, normal to normal. So yeah, this is what it's basically going to do inside Unreal. So now all we have to do is re-export the mesh with the UV channel, with the shadow map UV. I like to modify in Photoshop the shadow map. Make sure when you're opening, select don't modify the color space, the first option. And then we are going to duplicate with Control J. We are going to go to image, adjustments, levels, and just pull the rightmost one, the white one, where the information in the histogram is starting. So we get more information, as you can see. There you go. And now we can duplicate it again. Sorry, duplicate it again. Put it to screen, and we can do a filter blur, Gaussian blur with a couple of pixels. So it's a softer thing instead of the harsher ones we had. It still retains some information, as you can see, but it's a lot more dreamy and soft, which is what we're looking for. And we could even duplicate it a couple of times more, and then just put them all together. Control S to save. Let's jump back into Unreal. Alrighty, so let's assume that you don't have a hair shader in a real setup. Yeah, let's just assume that you are grabbing the material from the Paragon characters or the MetaHuman ones, and yeah, those shaders come. Let me open it for you. They come actually with all the things we need to use ourselves. As you can see, it says AO second UV, and as you can see, it's like a second UV channel ambient occlusion thingy, and it has just before that use third UV channel for AO. So this is what I'm going to use. But yeah, we don't need to change anything from here or worry about anything here. So all we have to do is right click on the master material, right click, create material instance, and what this does is it allows you to change stuff directly here and see the effects instantly without having to recompile the shader. So let's just drag that to both examples here. And what we're going to do is put all the textures we have for our hair. So let me do that. I'm just copying them from the other options. This should be fairly straightforward. And that there, and that there. Alrighty. Let's now modify the rest of the settings as I had them, which is basically just, see, here is where we are going to be able to change use the custom ambient occlusion or shadow map here. But let me get all of these options as they should be. So I've only changed these ones. This should be 3, so it's a bit more bulky around the edges. It loses a bit of the softness, but it makes sure that your sideways cards are visible, like those flyaways. See? And what else? Some pixel depth offset. Okay, yeah, the specular is the same, and this one, I have it way low, but maybe I should actually put it back to 1, because it looks way better around the hairline. So I'm gonna do that. And I think that's mostly it. Yeah, I'm gonna use diffuse base color here to use my custom texture. So once it recompiles, I should have access down here to the diffuse texture, which should be that one. And let's put the brightness to 5, for example. And then we can even modify the colors. Let's up the scatter a little bit. And let's try, for example, some pinkish color. That actually looks pretty sick. Alrighty. And let me give it a bit of variation here. Just a bit of hue and value variation. And it's currently 0.1 and 0.2 on my other material. I'm just copying the values over from the one I had already set up, so just so I don't have to keep you here while I test if stuff looks good or not. And the only thing left is the shadow map. So let's scroll up, and here where it says use material AO, we are going to uncheck the facing AO, and let's activate the material AO. Okay. So now it gives us the option here to plug in our shadow map. So let's plug it in there and let it recompile. And if everything has gone right, we should be able to see pretty straightforward how much it changes and improves our cohesion between all the different strands and chunks and everything. See? I think it doesn't match right now, the UVs, for some reason, which is weird. Uh, oh, right. I know why it is. It's because now, remember how in Blender I had that on my third UV channel? So we need to make sure we tell the shader which UV channel to use. So if we go down, or even just search here UV3 or UV, it will let you um, use third channel UV for AO, and this is what I need to activate, because in my case I'm using the third UV channel for the shadow map. And we let it recompile again, and that's it. You can see how around the band, right under the some of the um, clamps and stuff. I wish it didn't recompile all the time. Can I show? Yeah, let me. Nope. Yeah, I think that shows it enough, like well enough. You can see exactly. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, you can clearly see it's a lot better with the material AO activated. It looks a lot more together, and yeah, you can even boost or change the curve of how much it gets darkened. You can even change the minimum, the maximum, the depth it goes. So it's more superficial, or it goes in a bit more. It's super customizable, and yeah, I think it looks really cool. I had never tested it with a hair color that wasn't um, a natural color, so this has been fun to test. I'm just playing with the colors for fun right now. So yeah, as you can see, um, I think it's a really subtle effect, but I think if you're really trying to push the quality of your projects and so on forward, but yeah, I just think that with something so simple, the look of this can improve so much. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can leave them down here in the comments, or you can uh, reach me on Twitter. I have my DMs open, and yeah, and any question, anything you think I could give you a hand and clarify some stuff about the shadow maps and how to implement them. Yeah, I'd be happy to lend a hand. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Sorry for my M's, sorry for my pauses, sorry for my accent. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and hope you learned something. Bye bye.